Guys, so today I am going to be sorting through blue cards. I've got my stacks here. Stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. I'm going to be setting these over here. And we're going to be sorting through blue cards, getting things pared down to creatures and instants and sorceries and enchantments and other things like that. So occasionally I'm going to see something that I like that I might toss in front of the camera like this for you to look at and see the artwork and other things like that. Pretty decent. And in the meantime, we're going to start getting sorted. Got some alpha investments on in the background, as you can see. You guys are going to get to read some cards from some older sets. And I'm going to try and get the camera to focus in well so that you can see it. Boom. Oh, it's just terrible. There we go. Gotta get this glare out of the way. Just a little bit of glare. Get right here. Yep. Well, anyways, we're gonna get started. So, just starting creatures from instants and sorceries. I find it's really important to be able to sort this stuff out because, as a game shop, people are coming in all the time, and they do what I like to call dig. They want to sit and they want to dig through cards. And it makes it incredibly difficult for people to just find what they're wanting to look for if I don't have some sort of system. So it takes a lot of dedication to sort the cards because people come in and naturally they pull out a stack of cards, they look through everything, they kind of shuffle everything back together like a nightmare, and they end up just kind of moving along. So yeah, I run into the desire to kill people from time to time, but I don't. That's just part of the job. So days like today, it's Sunday, it's a little bit slower. Some days we're packed, some days, like now, shop's quiet, it's after 6 o'clock, it's almost 7. I'm sure people will be showing up closer to 9, and sometimes people just take a day off. Sometimes people have been coming into the shop all week and they want to go spend time with their families or some other ridiculous nonsense like that. And I just find a project and start hammering away until people show up. So that's what we're going to do. I like listening to Alpha Investments in the back. He's a pretty solid guy. Pretty good videos. So while I'm sorting, I'm listening in the background because occasionally he'll have little bits of information that are good. Now this is unusual, this card. Let's get this Summon Fairies over here. This is an artifact that actually isn't colorless. And I actually haven't seen this before that I remember, or I haven't seen many like this because this is a genuine artifact that you can see here. But the converted mana cost up here is a colorless and a blue. So that's pretty unusual to have an artifact that isn't just solid colorless. So I like it already. So a lot of morning a shop, picking up a little project like this, always finding something to work on. I mean, shoot, on a day like this when nobody's in here, I could just kind of sit back, play Red Dead Redemption 2 on Xbox One, push through the campaign, but that's not really solid business strategy. I enjoy doing this. I'm getting to sort the cards. My payoff is when a customer comes in and goes, oh, yes, thank you. This is awesome. Perfect. And so, so now I'm just going through the tedious work of blowing through cards after cards after cards. This is a pretty nasty card right here. Aura Flux. Makes it so that each other enchantment gains during your upkeep take 2 or sacrifice enchantment. That's going to mess somebody's mana flow up quite a bit. I really like that card. And it's because, I mean, you know, if every turn all of a sudden you have 2 of your mana set aside to keep some of your enchantments out, you're not going to be able to play some of those big monsters. So we're going to go ahead and move this back out to enchantment. Aquitix Will. You notice another thing that they did for a little while, if you can see. Ooh, get that in focus. It's a tribal sorcery, Merfolk. So some of the sets they came out with were tribal sorceries. And boom. Get rid of that. And then this one's an older card, but notice how it looks like a particular colorless planeswalker that we all know and love. Ooh. See this guy right over here? You can see a little blast from the past. I think that's who is that one? I feel stupid for not remembering his name right off the bat. I should know it. Let's do colorless planeswalkers. His name should come up pretty quickly. Yeah, so if you look at the artwork on this card, you're definitely seeing a Karn, an early Karn. See the high collar right there, the face. I kind of love that because this is an older set, and yet they're still working out, having little hints to the future or characters that are important that are getting recycled. But you see Karn in some old artwork over here. Wouldn't have been anything that anybody noticed a long time ago, but it's just a fun card to look at.
I don't even know what card game this is. I've never seen this. I've never heard of it. I just don't. Well, you're right.
Yeah, he's talking on Alpha Investments today about how a lot of people wonder why nobody went and just bought Alpha cards out when they were out. And he makes a really good point that nobody knew, because I was alive when Alpha came out. And nobody knew what it was. And you had all of these card shops that had everything was collectible. Every comic book was getting a #1 issue. And you have to understand, like, nobody knew how big Magic was going to be. And even in the startup years of Magic, occasionally they would come out with a set that was just garbage. And so people didn't know that it was actually going to retain, because in the early 90s, in the Wild West 90s of comic books and action figures and other stuff like that, you had stuff coming out all the time that was really great, and then it would pop, and then it would become garbage. You would have shows that would be really hyped at first, like Power Rangers. I remember when the first episode of Power Rangers came on Fox, and everyone was so excited. You're watching the first couple episodes, and Power Rangers, when it first came out, was actually really awesome. Really awesome. You'd get home from school, you'd want to watch it. It was like superheroes, live action on TV, fighting, karate, all this other stuff. But then it just got dumb and dumb and dumb and dumb and dumb. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And so you were always seeing other shows come out, like Beetleborgs. And, you know, Pokemon would come out, and it would have Digimon, and you would have, you know, all of these terrible shows. Well, it was just the same for games, too. Because as soon as Magic the Gathering even started to take off even a little bit and started to be slightly successful, you had every show in the world come out with its own trading card game that was a knockoff of Magic. You'd have SeaQuest and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all of these cards, and every single one of them failed. You also had trading cards that would come out that weren't games, like Marvel. Marvel came out with Marvel Masterpiece 1, an amazing set. It was awesome. And then the successful Marvel Masterpieces after that just became more garbage and more garbage and more garbage. I'm going to turn this down because it's loud in the background. So, yeah. So being able to know that Magic was going to be anything was difficult, because you've got money, there's a million things to buy at a game store, and you're buying all of it because you think it's great, and then it fails. Action figures, for instance. I've got tons and tons and tons of Marvel action figures on the wall. And everybody, when they were coming out, were thinking, you know, oh my gosh, when this, you know, later on in the future, you know, those action figures are going to be worth, you know, hundreds of dollars, just thousands of dollars, you know. And then, you know, especially when the first X-Men movie came out, you're like, oh my gosh, all those action figures I got back in the 90s are going to be worth a fortune. Well, now the Avengers movies are out, you know, and Marvel's on phase like 4 or 5 or 8 or whatever, who knows. And some of the action figures are only worth a couple dollars more than they were in the 90s. In the 90s, you know. I have a Deadpool action figure where you can actually take the mask off of him. Maybe worth $100, you know. So you can imagine buying that in the 90s, being excited, holding on to it. You spend 10, 12 bucks on it. And then now, I'm 33, it's 2019. It's almost like 25 years later, and it's gone up to $100. You know, there are TY Beanie Babies that are still just as useless. And so no one gets to know, you know, it's kind of like somebody saying, oh, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and buy Amazon stock or Apple stock. But when you look at Amazon or you look at Apple, there were a million other companies out at the same time. And it's just like today. There are companies out there and collector's items in comic book shops right now that are selling for pennies, you know, that you pass by every single day. You have no idea that 20 years from now it's going to be worth thousands of dollars. So you're literally just walking by stuff right now. You don't need a time machine. What you need is just a ton of money so that you can buy everything and then let history win out. But nobody has the ability to do that, you know. And then people go through life, their cards get thrown out, they go through relationships, breakups, or they just die, or, you know, just lots of stuff like that. So it's not really as feasible of an idea as it seems. Because I'd love to go back in time, get a bunch of alpha cards. But then the other problem is if I came back to the future now, and I've got all these cards that are worth $16,000, who has the extra $16,000 to spend on a Black Lotus? So yeah, you get tons of bragging rights, but then you're still sitting on a card for $16,000, and that's it. You know, like, you just kind of are sitting on sets. There are still people you watch in Alpha Investments who have these amazing sets of cards and misprints that are worth, you know, just tons and tons and tons of money. But there's an unending stream of people who want to look at those cards, but there is a very, very, like, small trickled pool of people who actually, you know, will ever buy those cards. And so that's the other thing, is that's why it's pretty much smarter to invest in stuff that you know is really going to be highly sought after. That's why a lot of people, you know, put all their money into stocks and other things like that. Gold, because, you know, gold is going to be amazing in the future. You know, I mean, people are still going to want it. So, man, nobody is here today. This is a slow Sunday. Sundays tend to be pretty slow. We initially thought about actually being closed Sunday, and for a little while we were, but we started to have people with families ask us to be open. So we decided to go ahead and start doing that. I'm going to move this one over. Oh, and the other thing that's interesting about this card too, it's actually labeled as an interrupt, which is what instance used to be called. But I believe that they changed it from calling it interrupt, because not every time that you play an instant card is it actually interrupting something. So I just think that they just went over to one system. Jace's Erasure was pretty popular for a while in mill decks. Every time you draw a card, target player puts the top card of his or library into his graveyard. Okay, this is an enchantment. I love some of the old artwork here. Alright. Well, I definitely need to plug my laptop in. It's at about 21%. Throw some music on, maybe. I'm still happy to be open on a Sunday because, you know, realistically, if I was closed today and I was at home, I'd be bored. I'd be working on projects anyways. So it's kind of like, why would you be open on a day where nobody's coming in, everybody's gone? Well, still getting a lot of work done around the shop, and somebody could come in at any time, make a purchase. I'd probably be here anyways. So it's nice to be consistent and have my doors open. Human wizard. Ugh, didn't even send it to the live stream. Sends you a pre-recording of the live stream, which is stupid. Let's get rid of this. Delete. Delete. That's super annoying. I don't know why it would do that. So I'm trying to link up my live stream to Facebook. That way people can pop in and talk to me. And the live stream that it hooked to was the live stream from earlier, which is like useless because then it's not actually a live stream. So let's see if we can actually get the live stream hooked up and share that to Facebook. Okay, let's see if I can do that. Now we're gonna go. Ew. Should have posted it. Let's see if the magic is working. Okay, come talk to me on live stream. Is this the actual live stream? There it is. Awesome. Fantastic. Get this started. Boom. Great. Now I can keep track of if yeah, my big goal is to eventually get this set up so that I can actually talk to people through the live stream. And I imagine that that'll probably happen through setting up. Stream some Bethel. Sort some cards, stream some Bethel. Yeah, some days when I'm sorting through stuff like this, it does feel like I'm wasting my time a little bit. But I know that I'm not. It's one of those things where there's so many cards to sort, and I can spend a day or two just on blue. And then I've got red, and white, and black, and green. And then I've got artifacts. And it's like, what is the point of spending so much time pouring through this? But it's one of those things where when you own a game shop, when just any business, you want to feel like you've got your hands on actively making it better. Because one of the things that's plagued me growing up and seeing that, like, you know, different people that have owned businesses is that they crack the doors open on the business and then they get exhausted or they get apathetic. And a lot of times you'll walk into like a gas station, you know, somebody owns a gas station or a convenience store, nail salon, coffee shop, something like that. And especially when it's someplace like convenience stores. Convenience stores are such a good example because they're such a necessity that people don't really... They're going to go into a gas station because they need gas. So the owner of the gas station doesn't have to make sure that he has his space meticulous at all times, because people are going to be in there for 2 seconds, they're going to buy something, they're going to leave, and they're not going to stay, and they're not going to hang out. And so you end up in this spot where, you know, what's the point of cleaning it meticulously every 2 seconds? Now, when you go to Texas, there's, you know, Racetrack, and there's Quick Stop, you know, and those ones are so clean all the time. It's ridiculous. You go to Buc-ee's, you go to other places like that, and I'm sure there's other places all around the country that are meticulously clean all the time. And all of a sudden, you know, they're doing better business-wise, and people chalk it up to their size, but it's not. It's just the fact that they're intentional. Whereas some other stores you go to, you know, you get to a place where, yeah, cleaning and meticulously taking care of the store is always happening, and so you end up getting burnt out because you're just like, God, am I always going to be cleaning every 2 seconds? Am I going to murder my customers for coming in and ruining what I just spent time on? And especially when you're one of the only people that runs the business, you just feel like a machine. But the thing is the difference between, you know, it makes so much difference to be intentional about your business, because when my store isn't clean and I have a slow day, I feel like quitting. I feel like giving up. You know, if my store is a wreck and there's no customers coming in and I'm not making any sales, I feel like I'm wasting my life, I'm wasting my time, I'm an idiot, I need to just shut the doors and give up and be done. But then there are moments when my store is meticulously clean and it's packed and I feel like a genius. I feel like a Wall Street mogul. I'm like, man, I can't believe that people are here. The money's rolling in. Everybody loves being there. They're having a blast. I did this. I made this happen. So I sit and I work on things like this, even on days that are slow, because I never know when this is going to make a difference. I don't know when somebody's going to come in and start digging through the cards and go, oh, man, I love that your cards are separated by creatures, that they're separated by enchantments. Like, I go to these other shops and their cards are just kind of thrown in a bin or a sleeve and they're not organized, except maybe by color, and that's it. And a while ago, I organized everything by color. So at least if you're looking for blue, you can pull blue boxes out. But now I'm separating them by type. And then in the future, I might get the energy to actually separate them by set. And then eventually I might actually separate them by converted mana cost. You know, so that if you're looking for cost 1 creatures, you can go to this box and go, okay, I want blue cost 3 creatures. And you can go, this is the box I'm going to look through. Or you can say, I'm wanting some blue enchantment, I'm looking at the mana curve of my deck, and I'm wanting some cost 2 cards. And I don't know what kind of cost 2 cards I want, but they need to be cost 2. I just need to throw in some spice, you know. So I like to work on things like this because it just makes the difference of whether or not I give a crap. And so I look at it as I've worked retail jobs before. I've been on the clock. I've had to keep busy. And so I've had to pick some random nonsense that doesn't really matter to do just to keep busy. So if the manager walks by, I'm working on something. I'm making that money. Well, the same thing applies here. It is my business, and when it's slow like this, I really can just decide, like it's 7:30 and no one's here. Now that happens. We're open till 1 a.m. and it's Sunday. So I'm imagining at 9 o'clock, people are going to start pouring in. 9 o'clock is the magic hour all the time. People are showing up after work. It's awesome. Or maybe we just get a couple people today. I'm believing for something big, that we're going to have people coming in. They're going to spend a lot of money. And what's going to start out as an incredibly slow day is going to end up being really fortunate. That's just something that I'm praying for and believing for. Jesus is awesome like that. And I believe it can happen. It's happened before. But in moments like this where nobody's in and I'm like, man, I could just shut the lights off. I could say that we're closed today. I could put a note on the door that says I'm sick. And then I could just go see a movie. You know, if nobody's coming in today, if today's going to be a slow day anyways, I might as well save money on the electricity by just shutting the lights off and being closed today. You know, just pack it in. Take an extra rest day. Get that energy up. Come back tomorrow. It's Monday. It's magic. Let's just go after it. But I try and remember that, you know, I can't take my business for granted. I just can't. I don't want to. I'm extremely fortunate to get to continue to do this. And so I look at it as I'm on the clock, and I can either sit and play Red Dead Redemption and take advantage of what I have, which is fine. You know, like I know business owners that do that. They'll, you know, sit behind the cash register and they'll pop out their phone or their iPad and they'll catch up on some Netflix. And then if they make some sales that day, they were just paid a couple bucks to watch their favorite show. But for me, I would much rather sit and work on stuff like this because it's an investment. I don't have an order coming in with all this inventory. You know, I've gone out, I've posted flyers, I've done my marketing this week. Now I'm just in a position where I'm like, well, do I just sit back and wait for customers to roll in, or do I throw on a live stream? You know, maybe nobody watches it. Maybe nobody watches it. But what if somebody watches the live stream and they go, you know what? I got nothing going on today. I'm going to head over to the shop, hang out with Alex. So this is part of the marketing. Let's throw on a live stream because even this live stream will end up sitting online, and eventually at some point in time, somebody might throw it on and just be like, hey, this looks like a great shop. I'm glad I got to see it. I'm going to go by and visit it. But today, it's just something to do. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to help. I don't know if it's going to make an impact, but it's doing something, and it's not just busy work. It's actually doing something. If I'm spending time on the live stream, then I can actually rate and see how well it goes. Did I have any viewers? What time did they start logging in? How many people came by? How many people actually tried to message me? What time did people sign on? I can be experimenting, and so it's work. I can be sorting cards. And then hopefully at some point in time, customers come in and go, oh man, I'm so glad you got your cards split up this way. I love this. So it just takes our store to that next level of service. Maybe somebody comes here to play Magic instead of somewhere else, because whenever they come to buy cards, they don't have to work as hard. They can just know exactly where creatures are, exactly where instants are. So today I'm working on service. I could sit back and play Red Dead Redemption 2, or I could work on adding a value to the shop and adding to our service. And there have been plenty of times where I've worked really hard to add a service to the shop, and it was a waste of time. Huge waste of time. I mean, times when I've sorted out minis for Pathfinder thinking, hey, if I put, all of these minis right over here, I thought, man, if I take those off the cork board and put wood bottoms on them and stand them up, maybe they'll be more accessible for people and they'll want to play more. Waste of time. Huge waste of time. The bottoms come off really easy. The glue doesn't hold that well. Probably going to end up going back and snapping all of them off and resorting them. But the point is that one day somebody came in and they said, oh, this looks really cool. So I also want to get more efficient with my time. I don't want to just be producing something and it doesn't actually matter. But sorting cards today, I've got the energy for it, and it's providing a service to my customers, and so that's why I'm doing it. And I got a show on in the background. So I'm still getting to enjoy myself, spending some time, paying attention to the service going on. Havilah Cunnington speaking. I'm just chilling out. Just chilling and sorting cards. His artwork, ridiculous. It's also fun getting familiar with the cards, because I'm not going to remember every card that I see. But as I'm running my eyes over the different cards that are here, this one's pretty cool artwork too. I'm at least getting an idea of what we have in stock. So there's always a chance that a customer will come in and say, hey, I've been looking for this particular card. Is there any way that you know whether you have this card or not? And most of the time, I don't remember. I just don't. We have so many cards coming in and out, in and out, in and out all the time. But if I'm running my eyes over the cards, there's a chance that my memory will catch and somebody will say, hey, I'm looking at Archomancer. He looks like this. He's got this yellow robe on. And I can be like, I have no idea where it is, but I know that I've seen it. And I know I've seen it 4 or 5 times. We've got a couple of copies of it somewhere. I'll just know. At least I can say yes or no, we have that card. And then I'll be looking through cards too, and I'll see new combinations, or I'll notice how many merfolk we have. I mean, we've got so many merfolk creatures right here. And I'm like, hey, I saw a merfolk planeswalker. It was a legendary, which means I can use it as a commander. Maybe I should build a merfolk commander deck just to have here at the store. Why not? That commander's sitting up there. Nobody's really using it. Nobody's really buying it. It's just kind of sitting there like a lump on a log. But what if I utilized it? What if I made it as a commander, made a commander deck for it, put some merfolk together, and then when a new customer comes in, usually girls are interested in the merfolk because it's mermaids. It's just a huge thing. Like, the girls love mermaids. It's not all of them, but that's one of the things. There's a lot of times girls will build merfolk decks or angel decks or other things like that. So why not take that one that's sitting on the shelf and get the idea and just build a merfolk deck? Because then I've got a new feature. Or it's just a new deck. Somebody comes in and I go, hey, by the way, I've got a merfolk deck I just built. And they go, yeah, I love the game. I'm looking to play something different. Yeah, let me borrow it. And then there's a new reason for them to be here. There's something else going on. And then also in downtimes like this, I do get to kind of just chill out and focus on, like, thinking about what would work. How can I get people in here today? How can I go from, having empty seats to full seats? Is there something that I can offer people? Saturday nights we're starting to look at doing trivia nights. But Sundays Sundays are one of those hard days to capture. What do we offer on Sunday to make people actually want to be in here? And it's really hard because, you know, Sunday is one of those days where a lot of people like to rest, but they do have Sunday off. So why aren't they here? You know? And I go, we're missing something. Because today is Sunday, and if people aren't here and they have the day off, they're going to the movie. They're going to restaurants. They're shopping. They're going somewhere that has something going on that's more interesting than we do. And that's something that I've got to get around. Okay. I love this one. I thought this card was so cool when I was younger. It's called Jump. Target creature gains flying till the end of turn. Man, when I was 12 years old playing this game, I thought that was such a powerful card. It's not. It gives your target creature flying till the end of turn. Oh man, that makes them unstoppable, you know, and it's an instant. So I can cast it whenever I declare an attacker, and then all of a sudden they can't stop the attack, and it'll just deal direct damage to them. Oh man, I'm going to put a bunch of these in my deck. Super fun. It's a good card. It's just not really that great of a card. What? Dude, some of the artwork went really off the deep end. Like this one. Kami the Twisted Reflection. Look at that guy. Or girl. I don't know. That's a weird looking card. Well, I think I'm going to hop off the stream.